back to the Fox Tucson Theatre. My name is Jordan Wiley-Hill, and I coordinate the Kids in the Theater KIT program here. Now, over the course of this series, I have enjoyed sharing thoughts and observations about storytelling, old school storytelling, because I find it to be such a remarkable and ancient and often underappreciated form of performing arts. But today, I am going to let the story do the talking, because it has some of its own observations to make about storytelling. So let's get into it. Everybody, we're going to start off with some actions and sound effects that I'm going to ask you to add into the story when we get going. The first one is cutting. Make some imaginary scissors and go, kss, kss, kss. Yeah, one more time. Kss, kss, kss. Next up, tearing, ripping. And another. And finally, a little bit of sewing. Okay, I think we are ready. Everybody settle in, get comfortable, take a deep breath in and out. Once upon a time, there lived a man who was a tailor, which meant that his job was to make and fix clothes. And because he made and fixed clothes for so many other people, he never paid too much attention to his own clothes until one day, a friend gave him a gift, a long stretch of fabric. And he said, "This is for you. I want you to make something for yourself out of it." And the tailor, he could see and feel how wonderful this fabric was. And so he took it back to his workshop in the back of his house, and he shut the door, thump, and he went to work. Cutting, kss, 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 and tearing, and sewing. And when he was finally done, he threw open the door to his workshop, stepped outside, and went, ta-da! His kids, who were there, looked at what he had made and said, ooh, because he had crafted that fabric into the most lovely, long overcoats. It immediately was the tailor's favorite piece of clothing. And you know how it is with your favorite piece of clothing. Maybe you wear it or want to wear it all the time. Well, that's what he did. And it was okay in the wintertime when it was cold outside. But when the summer came and it was hot and he was still wearing it outside and inside too, well, what do you think started happening to that coat? It got dirty, it got stained, there were rips and tears in it. And finally, his kids looked at him one day and said, "Dad, you've got to get rid of that coat." But he said, "I don't wanna." "Maybe I don't have to." And he ran back to his workshop. He closed the door. Thump. He took that coat and he started to cut, and tear, and sew. And when he was finally done, he threw open the door, stepped outside, and went, ta-da! And his kids looked and said, ooh, because he had taken all the messed up pieces of fabric on the coat, he had cut them away, and with the remaining good fabric, he had sewn it into a beautiful shirt. This was now his favorite piece of clothing. And again, he wore it all the time. So pretty soon, what started happening to it? It was getting messed up. There were stains, there were holes, and his kids looked at him one day and said, "Dad, you've got to get rid of that shirt." But he looked down and said, "Oh, I don't wanna." "I don't have to." And he ran back to his workshop, closed the door, thump, and he went to work. He cut, kss, kss, kss. He tore, he sewed, and when he was done, he threw open the door, stepped outside, and went, ta-da! And his kids looked. Ooh, ah. Again, he had cut away the messed up pieces, and with the good parts, he had sewn them into gloves. Beautiful gloves. And he wore them all the time. Outside, inside, working, eating. They got food on them. There were stains. There were holes. And his kids looked at them one day and said, "Oh, Dad, you've got to get rid of those gloves." But he said, "I don't want to." "I don't have to." And he went back to his workshop, closed the door, and he went for it. With those scissors cutting, tearing, sewing. And when he was finally done, he threw open the door and went, "Ta-da!" And his kids looked and said, "Huh? Ah, ooh, ah." The last bit of good fabric from those gloves he'd used to cover up a button and attached it to his clothes. And because he loved that button so much, he found a way to attach it to pretty much everything he wore so that it was always with him until the day that it wasn't. He came home, he looked down and the button, it was gone. He looked everywhere for it. He retraced his steps, but it was nowhere to be found. And his kids said, "Ah, finally you got rid of that fabric. But I didn't wanna." Maybe I don't need to. And he went back to his workshop and closed the door. And his kids looked at each other. How could he make something from nothing? They were curious. They listened into the door of his workshop, and all they could hear was their dad pacing back and forth, muttering to himself. And when he was finally done, he opened the door, he stepped out and went, "Ta-da!" And his kids said, "Huh?" Because there was nothing different about their dad that they could see. But he sat them down and he told them a story. This story that I just told to you about the fabric and all the changes it went through. And it was such a good story that he never had to get rid of it. In fact, here we are, still telling it to this very day. The end. Everybody, shake that story into your bones. Shake it into your clothes. And take a deep breath in and out. My friends, this will be the last story that I'm going to share with you as part of this series, since school is wrapping up here in Tucson, and we're beginning to prepare some great online arts opportunities for you in the summer. So I wanted to leave you with a story theme that could really guide us into the future, and it is this. We humans, we need stories. Stories are how we make memories. Stories are how we make sense of our lives and our world. Stories help us learn and grow, especially now as we sail such uncharted waters as we are. Stories shine a light, give us a map to help us navigate. And so I want you to notice how some part of our minds, all of our minds, is constantly doing what the tailor does, weaving together experiences and turning them into stories. It's been going on, I'm sure, for the last weeks, and it will keep happening over the months and years to come. And if we're doing it, we might as well do a good job of it, right? Right? So let's practice some of the skills that will help us do a good job with a drama game. From the Fox Tucson Theatre to your own theater, wherever you are. Here we go. Everybody, stand up on your feet and loosen up your body. In fact, start to shake and wiggle your body all over the place, staying in one spot, but move your body all around, and then freeze. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do it again. And this time, make sure that after you're shaking and I say freeze, freeze in whatever position you're actually in when I say freeze. Okay? Shake. Freeze. Good. Okay, for this drama game, there's a couple of extra details to what we just did, and it is this. One person will be the caller. Another person will be the shaker. The caller will say, shake, and amazingly, the shaker will shake until the caller says, freeze. And now, the shaker's job is to take whatever position they end up in and turn it into a little story that they act out for just a few seconds, like, I am a quarterback in a football game. And that's it. Okay, so let's try it out. You be the caller for this first round, and I will be the shaker. So on the count of 3, you say shake. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to trust that you said it. And at some point, you might say, freeze. I am digging a hole. Nice. Let's try it one more time. You call for me. I'll shake. 1, 2, 3. Shake. I am a dancer. Nice. Okay, let's switch roles. I am going to call, and you are going to shake. You ready? And when you do your piece, just do it out loud, wherever you are. Ready, set, and shake. Freeze. What are you? Act it out for a few seconds. Nice. Okay, relax, and let's do it one more time. Ready, set, and shake. Freeze. Yeah. And what are you? What's your little story? Act it out. And good. Nice. Give yourselves a round of applause. And maybe later, you can have an adult take a video of you playing this game and post it here so we can see some of your creativity and story skills in action. Okay, our creative juices are all flowing now, and I think we are ready to follow the example of the tailor from our story, to set our imaginations loose on our own lives. For this activity, you can sit back down. I'm really going to introduce this activity and give you an example so that you can do it later on. And our challenge? To each of us tell a story from our own lives over the past weeks. Here's how it works. The first step is to think about what group of people in your life that you want to focus on. It could be the people living in your home with you. It could be your school class. It could be your neighborhood. Just think about which group you'd want to focus on for this first story. And then, let's get a little playful, a little creative. Let's swap out the people in that group with animals. Any animal. For example, your teacher could become a unicorn in the story. Or you could represent your dad in this story with a rhinoceros. Maybe your neighbor could be a little possum. Whatever it is, once you've got some animals in mind, think about that group of people and think about something you have experienced with them over the past weeks, something that really stands out in your memory. And then just go for it. Use your animal characters to tell the story from your own experience. I'm going to give you an example from my experience, but an experience that I think you'll be familiar with. It's about me, this theater, and you. So, settle in wherever you are. Take a deep breath in and out. Once upon a time, there was a little fox named Kit. And Kit loved gathering together with all the other desert animals nearby on this one hillside to share in creativity, in play, in art. And he would do this as much as possible until one summer, a heat wave came rolling through the desert, even hotter than normal, so hot for so long that the animals couldn't safely leave their nests or their burrows or their dens. Everyone was stuck home. And Kit was so upset. He couldn't gather on that hillside like he loved to do. But then he had an idea. He took a breath, and in his loudest voice, he started to tell a story. And he told it so loud that some of the animals living nearby were able to hear it from their homes. And after he had told a few of these stories, he realized that on that hillside, which he loved and knew so well, there was this one spot that he remembered was cooler than all the rest. It was sheltered by some rocks, and the wind blew over in this particular way so that it was better than all the other parts of the exposed desert. He decided to go for it. He went scurrying up the hillside, and when he got to that spot, it was just cool enough for him to take a deep breath in, and in his loudest, most booming voice, to tell another story. And this story was heard by even more animals out across the desert. And as he told story after story, the animals started to feel inspired. An amazing thing happened. The other animals, they started to tell stories. First, quietly to each other in their homes, but then with more confidence and louder, until soon there was this weaving of a net of story. A net that contained all of those animals, separated as they were, but brought them all together. And that togetherness, that meant the world to Kit and to everyone. My friends, the first part of that story was me remembering my experiences, our experiences in a way, over the past weeks, and turning them into a story with animal characters. But the end of that story was me imagining the future. A future where I hope you take your experiences, add in the animal characters, and then turn it into a story which you tell. Tell it to a parent, to a friend, to a sibling, a relative, a teacher. Share it with us with a video of your story or a written version of your story. You could even take stuffed animals or action figures and use them to tell this story. Turn it into a show. However you do it, get your story out into the world. Because right now, we all need the chance to tell and to hear each other's stories. And then tell another story, and another, and another. And as you do so, as we all sail together through these strange times, remember our friend the tailor, how he was able to use a story to turn his experiences into something that would last. And remember all the other characters from all the stories that we have shared together. And finally, remember this. We will get the chance to be together again in person. We will once more gather in the Fox Tucson Theatre and other places and hillsides that are like it. And in the meantime, until that day, we'll be here, finding ways to connect you with the arts, with our shared experiences, and ultimately with each other. Farewell.